Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Gone Racin, the fabulous South Point studio, which, Mr. Motley, we're not sure about us yet. But
our last show in this studio.
The VSiN is moving their studio, and so this is the last official day of VSiN at the South Point. VSiN, we love you guys. Brent Musburger, thank you for what you did. DraftKings, they own it. They own the network now. Thank you guys for letting us continue to do this. This is we love it here, and we don't know if we're going to be doing it from here or somewhere else, but we're honored that we had this time with you guys. Let's get into what we talk about. We had Daytona. We had the last race. We had all the drama. And what do we end up with? Who's the hottest guy in the sport right now?
Chris Buescher.
Dang right.
Who won?
3 out of the last 5 races, Chris Buescher. Wow, Brad Keselowski, what he's done at RFK. Chris Buescher wins the regular season finale. Happiest guy in the garage was Bubba Wallace, who eked his way in on points. And amazing finish, Jeff.
If I had told you 3 months ago that Chris Buescher was going to be 4th going into the playoffs and Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman were not even going to be in the playoffs, you would have told me that I need to have my head examined.
Listen, if you said at the start of the year, well, in a minute we're going to show you what we picked earlier this season, and I promise you, none of us had Chase Elliott out, Chris Buescher in, and none of us had Chris Buescher 4th in points, 2nd most wins on the season.
And right now, he and I will still give Martin Truex Jr. I'll say they're the 2 hottest guys on the circuit. Now, Truex hadn't been to victory lane as much in the last few weeks, but still, there's your 2 hot guys going into this playoff.
Hot guys is an understatement. What he's done is amazing. To win the race, Chris Buescher was 16-1, which, again, impressively big. Top 3 was 450. We talked about that. He was Group B, 270. Ford was 150. Unbelievable what he was able to do right there.
There's no organization that you and I both poo-pooed any more, both last year and the beginning of this year, than RFK. Where did RFK finish at Daytona Saturday night?
1st and 2nd.
1st and 2nd. And it's 3 wins in the last 5 races. And Keselowski has run well also.
No, Kesy's right. He's in the playoffs also.
And in fact, he wins that race if it's anybody but Buescher in front of him, I think. He really kind of blocked for Buescher. He really did.
I wouldn't say he blocked as bad as we've seen people block in the past, but he knew it was better. He was in if Chris is in.
He knew he was in.
He was in anyway.
He knew that they were going to finish 1-2. There was no way they were not going to finish 1-2.
And that's what I say is he'll make that move late after turn 4 and try something, but there was too much traffic around him, didn't have a shot, pushed his team to the win. Amazing job.
Hey, let me tell you.
Brad gets paid either way.
Yeah. For somebody who has Brad Keselowski just to win 1 race this year, I was really hoping he'd dump Buescher there.
He wasn't going to dump him, don't you?
But you know how much money that would have cost Brad Keselowski to dump his own car?
But he would have the satisfaction that he helped out his #1 fan.
I think Brad cares about his wallet.
Brad did the right thing. Brad did an amazing job. It was awesome. Quick recap. Chase Elliott missed the playoffs, first time ever in his 8th Cup season. Right here, I'm still going to bet him to win, though. Priest, big flip. We're not going to talk about the flips and the accidents. Priest's flip, you guys have heard me before plenty of times. Rolling a race car is actually much, much healthier for your body, as long as you don't get hit. Like Ryan Newman got hit on the halo that year in Daytona. That's the fear.
Yeah, that's a different situation.
Absolutely.
Because everything's loosened
up.
But
the rolling, and he walked out of the race car. They sent him for observation. He's fine. Really, the scarier wreck was Ryan Blaney's.
And it's 2 straight races at Daytona. He's had a similar accident because somebody else got hit and then hooked him.
And that was a racing deal.
It wasn't Ty Gibbs' fault.
There was no fault on that. That was just a product of the race.
I mean, Ty Gibbs really got bumped by his own teammate.
He got pushed. He got pushed a little wonky. Martin Truex Jr., your regular season champion, got his 15 bonus points. So that was awesome. Let's look at the odds to win the race, or the top 10. Sorry, we just did that. Top 10, we said Chris Buescher. Brad Keselowski, 350. Eric Almirola, plus 600. Didn't do him any good. He needed to win. Chase Elliott needed to win. Corey LaJoie, though, brought home another solid top 10 at Daytona. So Corey did what he loves to do at Daytona. But, that's great for that Spire team, but it just doesn't do anything.
The guys that finished 3rd, 4th, and 6th, they all needed a win.
Those are great finishes. Congratulations.
Did
nothing for you. Just another solid finish. Way to go.
Yep.
The championship standings, we reset. We have the championship odds, and there's one glaring thing here to me, Jeff Motley. The guy that's won 3 of the last 5 races. This guy's won a road course, a speedway, a super speedway, and a short track.
That's right.
Michigan.
Yep.
Michigan, Richmond,
and Daytona this year, and
the
he
road
won. Has a career win. Also, where he won at
Bristol.
Won at Bristol,
And then he won the fog race at Pocono. But
so he hadn't run a road course yet.
not a road course. Sorry,
But he's run
great at road
on
courses.
every road course.
But he's 18-1. I'm sorry. Right now, that number is going to keep getting smaller because first he starts fourth. He has 21 bonus points that will carry to each round. So he is looking really, really good right there. 18-1.
He does a great job of managing his race car.
Yes.
And what is maybe the most important thing this week?
Managing your race cars, Darlington. Managing your tire. That's exactly what you have to do. This guy right here, I'm a Brad Keselowski bandwagon. I am a believer. And, that Chris Buescher team, 18-1, you want to take a bet right there. Jump on that, baby.
Well, and, I look at these 16 guys in the playoffs right now, and I literally do believe the top 4 guys, Byron, Truex, Hamlin, and Buescher, they, to me, are clearly the 4 best guys going into this playoff right now. I mean, you look below them.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch, struggling. Kyle Larson, struggling. Christopher Bell, he's disappeared. Chastain, disappeared. Keselowski might be the next most successful guy.
Yeah.
Reddick, we haven't heard much out of him. Logano has disappeared. Blaney, he got the win a few weeks ago, was big, locked him in. And then the guys below him, I mean, I don't know.
No,
I mean, those 4 guys
those top
to me
4
are,
guys, and that's a hell of a it's awesome right now. The sport right now, healthy as it's ever been. Love what it looks like in that top 4. The next 4 races, let's get to the standings real quick because we want to get to something kind of fun that we did for the deal. Of course, we have the Southern 500, first round of the playoffs, Jeff. Great place to do it. Unbelievable. You have the Hollywood Casino 400 out in Kansas, and then the Bass Pro Shops night race, one of our absolute favorites. We know that at Bristol. So one hell of a first round coming up here. Bristol being the knockout. Another great last race for a knockout race. Right?
Absolutely. I love the tradition of Labor Day weekend at Darlington.
Love it back.
But you're right. Having Bristol as a knockout race, we're going to have a knockout race on a road course with the Roval.
Yep.
Another short track knockout race, which we've seen some crazy stuff at Martinsville. So I think it's set up pretty well. And you got a road course in there. You got a super speedway. You got some intermediate tracks. It's a great diversity of racetracks in this playoff.
Yeah, Texas, Talladega, this next round. So really awesome. But what we want to get to is we did, of course, at the beginning of the year, we did our picks, right? We said who our top 16 were, who was going to be our disappointment, all these things. Now, I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow right now. I may be leading the Gone Racin standings.
By a lot, I might.
By a large margin. But I had the worst pick in the history of any picking of shows. And I will be the first to sit here and say, Martin Truex Jr., I apologize for saying you were going to be the most disappointing driver of the year. And the second worst pick of the whole deal was saying that Austin Cindric was going to be the breakout driver of the year. So I have 2 absolutely awful picks. And if you really want to go with another awful pick, Noah Gregson's already not going to even finish the year for Rookie of the Year. So I'm making up for.
And your driver with the most wins didn't win a race all year.
Yeah. Really, if you look at all that, I'm really glad I'm leading the standings right now.
You had 19 guys winning races this year.
I did.
What did we end up with, 16?
15.
15 plus Van Gisbergen was 16.
No, that is 15.
Oh, we had 15. Oh, you're right. No, no, we actually only had 13. 14. We had 14.
14.
14 with Van Gisbergen. Okay,
So you said about every number in between.
Yeah, I did, but now it finally
14.
dawned on me that we had 3 guys make the playoffs that didn't win races.
But
so that was
guys,
13, and then Van Gisbergen made 14.
I'm missing Austin Dillon, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Byron Blaney, Hamlin,
It's kind of hard to read
Harvick,
off our screen.
Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe. I'm missing 5. I only have 9 drivers live, but I have 3 of the final 4 still live. So
you missed Briscoe, Bowman.
5.
Was it 5?
5.
Okay.
So I did a kind of a mediocre job on that. Mr. Motley, he was also had his predictions. Bubba's had it.
He didn't win a race. But
Rookie of the Year. Looks like he's kicking my butt on that one.
driver that will disappoint.
You're leading the way there.
Ooh, I got really close on the wins.
Chase Elliott, driver with most wins.
Yeah,
you also
we both
joined that
missed
one.
that one.
Who are you missing?
Elliott, Larson, Byron got 4, Blaney's 5, Reddick 6, Chastain 7, Kyle Busch
Dinger.
8, Hamlin's 9, Bell's 10,
Gibbs, Bowman,
Harvick's
Briscoe.
11, Bubba's 12. I got 12.
You missed 4.
I missed 4.
Yeah, I missed a whole lot more. So And how much? You only have.
Well, I've already lost Chase Elliott out of the Final Four,
Yep,
and
so we
have
both
you.
have 3 of the Final 4.
But I got Denny winning it all.
I got
who
Larson.
Did you have winning
I got
it all?
Larson.
Okay.
So we're
all right.
We're still alive on
We're
that
still
part.
alive on that one.
We still have some. We still have some live on Channel 5 action here. But yes, as good as I've been doing in the Gone Racing League this year, I did that bad on my preseason predictions.
You know, and let's face it, if Chase, we made that prediction not knowing Chase Elliott was going to break his leg
7
in a
races.
snowboarding.
He missed 7 races.
He missed 7 races. I mean, 6 of them with a broken leg, and 1 of them for a dumb move on the racetrack. So,
but I mean, you look at Noah Gragson. I mean, come on, he was doing okay. He wasn't near Ty Gibbs in the rookie points, but he was doing okay. But yeah, the whole Martin Truex Jr., Austin Cindric.
We nailed that one last year. Remember, we both picked Keselowski.
We did.
We nailed that.
We did
last year.
But it's
much to watch.
You know what the funny thing is, Brendan, is that we knew right away that was a bad pick when he won the Clash. Like,
yeah,
Keselowski. I even tried to say it's the Clash. It's the Clash. It's not a point. It doesn't count.
And it gave him a little momentum. You love that.
Listen,
you love that momentum.
He come out swinging this year, and he swung me into the dirt.
Well, it'd be even funnier if he actually ends up winning the championship.
Yeah,
in the year that
listen,
you picked him to
if
be
he
the most
wins the
disappointing.
if he wins the championship, it doesn't matter how many points ahead in the Gone Racing point league I am. Yeah, that was a bad pick.
But that's why we do these predictions at the beginning of the year. You know,
and he made the play. He missed the playoffs because he didn't win a race. I mean,
that's true. You're right.
All right, when we come back, enough joking around. Time to get to the cookout, Southern 500. When we return, the odds to win.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
And the green flag back out, segment 2, Gone Racing, Mr. Motley. We are just now getting into Darlington for the Southern 500 on Labor Day weekend.
The cookout.
The cookout Southern 500.
Which there was an announcement a couple weeks ago, by the way, that Bojangles is going to open 20 restaurants in Las Vegas. I think we need some cookouts. I love their little pork barbecue sandwich.
I do love their stuff.
I can't get that kind of barbecue out west. It's like a southeastern thing, where I grew up.
It's the vinegar. It's the vinegar.
Have that vinegar-based barbecue sauce. So yeah, if the cookout people are listening, hey, bring your restaurant to Vegas.
Not against it. Not against it.
I will definitely.
But I am excited about some Bojangles.
Yeah, me too.
I still love my Farm Basket. I'm a Vegas OG. Anybody in Vegas knows Farm Basket.
You and the Bush brothers.
OG original.
And Kurt and Kyle come out here and they'd send their mom to the Farm Basket to get food to bring it back into the garage.
I did a whole thing on Farm Basket when I was racing for NBC. I was like, Farm Basket's it's legit. When you come to Vegas, Farm Basket.
By the way, we didn't even mention the fact that our buddy Kurt officially announced his retirement.
He did announce his retirement. So. Great video, too, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
Such a good video.
I think we knew it was coming, but it was just, happy for him.
Just glad he's okay. That's all I care about. I want my friend okay.
Yep.
But Darlington track records, man, there is one guy that absolutely just stands out, leaps and bounds above the rest, and that is Denny freaking Hamlin. 12 top 5s in 22 races. That's over 50%, 55% top 5 at Darlington.
Well, we talked about to win at Darlington, you have to manage your car. Denny's a guy who always manages his car. I will give him credit for that. Now, we've always been kind of negative on Denny's pit crew, at least the last few years.
Or him. He got another penalty this week, speeding, by the way.
Right.
Way to go,
and the
Denny.
thing about Darlington is you're going to make more pit stops at Darlington than you're going to make probably in any race you run on.
Which
and
he'd probably have even better stats if he didn't do that so much.
And I'm talking about pit stops where you got to take a 4-tire change, not a splash and go, or not do we take lefts or rights.
No. There's no pit stop games at Darlington. There's no 2 tires, no tires, fuel only. At Darlington, there is one pit stop. 4 tires and fuel every time.
Now, they get 13 sets of tires, and some people say that still may
That's
not be
still
enough.
not enough. Listen, we used to actually push the car out and change the tires on pit road because we didn't want to push the car on the tires we were qualifying on. That's how bad it is at Darlington.
So 500 miles around Darlington is about, what, 300 and some laps, I guess?
Yeah.
You're really going to have to change tires every 40 to 50 laps minimum.
I'd change every 4.
But if you run 10 laps and there's another caution, you're coming in for tires.
You want them. I promise you that. But amazing what Denny Hamlin's done at this place. And Eric Jones, that's another one that sneaky on there. 7 top 10s, 2 wins in 11 starts. Eric Jones won this race, of course, last year. So a couple guys on here that really have some amazing stats when you look at the career of them. Some guys can run really well here.
You know, and it's funny, you see the guys that we think of as being more of the aggressive types are the ones we don't necessarily see on the list. Like you don't see Ross Chastain, you know, on that list over there.
But he was he had a hell of a run last year till he crossed paths for like the 4th race in a row with old Kyle Larson last year, and he Larsoned himself. But this race makes for some fun racing. It's so much fun. This is one of the tracks I do miss. Let's get to the odds, though. And our favorite is our regular season point leader, who also happens to be very, very good at this place. Martin Truex Jr. is your leader at plus 500, tied with Kyle Larson. William Byron, Denny Hamlin, 8. Ross Chastain, 900. Then you get double digits. Seabell, 11. Kyle Busch, 12. Tyler Reddick, 13. Kevin Harvick, Chris Buescher, 15. Brad K, 16. Chase Elliott, 17. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, 18s. And then interesting, Eric Jones and Bubba Wallace at 28-1. Last year's winner, and it was a super surprise last year, Jeff. Eric Jones, we just talked about his stats here. That's
yeah, you know, I think the one that I'm kind of curious about is what level of motivation are we going to see out of Chase Elliott? He is 17-1. Now, did you ever think? Now, I know he's never won at Darlington,
but 17-1 on Chase Elliott.
17-1 on Chase Elliott, who I've got to believe there's got to be some. First off, there's no pressure now. The pressure's gone. It's basically just go out and try to win races, right?
Yep.
17-1 is a big number on Chase Elliott. There's no way I can see him going this entire season without winning a race. Now, maybe that comes at the Roval at Charlotte or somewhere. I don't know. But I just think 17-1 is a really, really big number to put on Chase Elliott. And about 15-1 on Chris Buescher.
I mean, look, he's the guy that's won on every other place they have this year. But, you know, can the Fords run well? Can the Fords, you know, what can the Fords do? So that's the question is.
Well, you know, here lately, I think they've shown some great improvement.
At Michigan was where it really hung my cap on it. Michigan has been the one that really just sticks out and says, wow, they did a hell of a job. So I think we got to start talking about the Fords.
You know, Richmond, Michigan, Daytona, all wins by Buescher.
Yeah, I shouldn't say Fords. Maybe we should just say Buescher.
Well, and keep in mind, Darlington is not a horsepower racetrack.
It is and it isn't, but you have to learn how to harness it. It's tough.
You run too hard, you're just gonna burn your tires off.
You can run hard for a couple laps. You're going to be driving your butt off for the next 100. Let's get the second page. Ty Gibbs is the start of it at 35-1. Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman there at 55. Michael McDowell 80. Ricky Stenhouse 100. He's in the playoffs at 100. Carson Hostfar gets a shout out on the show in that Legacy Motor Club 42 at 150. They gave him 150 and they gave LaJoy a full timer, and Austin Dillon and Eric Almirola 200 and 250. Wow. There's some long shots on some regulars there that shouldn't be that high.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like they set the odds saying, well, you know,
none of
these guys are going to get out of the way. But look, like you talked about, what did we see last year? We saw 3 non-playoff drivers win the first 3 races. So
I don't know if we can see it this year, but that's.
But with Elliott and Bowman and Suarez, I mean, I think it could very easily. I'm not saying it's going to happen all 3 races, but I could certainly see somebody winning.
Well, with the guys we have outside the playoffs, we absolutely can see it. Let's get to our top 3s because I think there's that Eric Jones number is what I want to get to on this top 3. I want to see what that is. We lead off with Martin Truex at plus 140, Kyle Larson at 155, which is odd. They're equal odds to win the race, but not for the top 3. William Byron 210, Denny Hamlin there with him at 210, 285 Kyle Busch, 310 Ross Chastain. You got Christopher Bell at 310 also, Tyler Reddick 350, Kevin Harvick 4, Chris Buescher 4, Chase Elliott 450, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano all at 500, Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace 800. Listen, Eric Jones, we may not be a believer much, but the guy's pretty stellar here. You give me plus 800 on last year's winner, a guy that's been here, you know, with as many top 10s as he has in as many races as top 5s. That's a number I kind of like.
Well, both of those guys, I think, plus 800 are good to keep an eye on. Eric Jones and Bubba has proven that these type tracks, and I know it's not exactly a mile and a half, but Bubba has gotten so much better. I mean, he's in contention it seems like all the time when we run these intermediate tracks now. So I think plus 800, like I said, I wouldn't go pick him to win. Plus 800, pretty good number on both of those guys.
It's worth taking a shot at. Let's get to the second page. Ty Gibbs, your rookie leader, is there at plus 900. Then you get to the double digits. Alex Bowman, 14. Daniel Suarez, 15. Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse, 28. There's Host Fargan, 40. Dylan at 50. Almirola. You know, I wonder why is Austin Dillon so bad? I mean, he's not that bad.
Well, obviously they don't like him at Darlington. But I think this all comes down to okay, they're not in the playoffs. They're not going to run hard, which I think we all know that's not necessarily the case out there. And I'm a little surprised to see numbers as big as 28-1 on a couple of playoff guys. And I know this isn't exactly McDowell and Stenhouse's forte to run a track like Darlington, but 28-1 for a top three, that's a pretty big number on guys that you know are out there trying to just have a good finish.
I mean that's even on the front page. I look at that, like, again, that Chase Elliott number. You got Chase Elliott for a top three, and yeah, he hasn't won here, but look at this. I mean, 4 top fives in the last 10 races. You know, that's a guy, even though he's out of the playoffs, he's got something to prove.
He's got something to prove. He's got no pressure on him whatsoever. And look, right now it's all about just getting wins. Now, I know we're talking about a top three right here, but guess what? If you're going for the win,
If
you come up a spot or two short, you're still going to get a top three.
You know, and Ross Chastain last year had all the Hasselhoffs with Kyle Larson and all that sort of thing. You got a little, you know, there's some guys. I mean, Ross is 310 as a top three. I know we haven't talked about it. Larson is in that group right now with me, with Byron and Bowman, where when they're hot, we talk about them every week, and when they're not, they're gone. Like it's like, where'd they go? Well, but all of a sudden they come back with that. They win 2 races in a row type thing.
Well, and the other thing I think happens, if you've got a guy that's a non-playoff driver, and let's say he's out front, the other guys are not going to try to rough him up to win because he can't hurt them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you might be a little bit more aggressive if you're a playoff guy racing a playoff guy. But you're a playoff guy racing a non-playoff guy, that guy can't hurt you at all on the point. So if a guy like Chase Elliott gets out front, I don't think you're going to see a guy go and try to, like, rough him up or anything like that either.
You know, man, there's some guys here. Even Harvick, the long odds on Harvick. I know we haven't been high on Harvick, but 9 top 10s, 8 top 5s in the last 10 races.
He is really good at Darlington, you know.
And what have you done for me lately? Second last year.
Yeah. I think Harvick's the guy that could probably surprise in the playoffs. He ain't going to win it, but he could surprise.
I kind of, I don't know, top 3 Harvick. I'll be looking at it. All right, we come back. Odds to win. We'll jump into the groups when we return on Gone Racing.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Want to reach out? Wow, that was a bad rejoin for my promo read.
Professionally unprofessional.
Yeah, that was. Want to rewatch our show, guys? We're a podcast. Remember, Gone Racing Podcast. It's free, and it's available VSiN.com/podcast. Don't forget to head over there. A lot of great shows, all the other VSiN shows. So head over, VSiN.com/podcast. Catch us, catch all the other ones. And, you know, don't forget, we give you all the great news, odds, everything you need to know. Head to the betting counter. You know, the one right back here, the one right behind us.
I'm just impressed you got through that while Wyatt was waving that black flag in front of your face. So.
You mean the black flag?
Yeah, you got the black flag for being professionally unprofessional.
I did the point, too. I was trying to point you like, hey, you got the black flag.
I got the black flag. You.
See, that's what you get for not, like, reading it verbatim and trying to just ad-lib it.
Well, I thought he was giving me the green flag, so my eyes are so bad. I thought it was green flag. He's saying keep rolling. I'm like, okay, I'll keep going. I can keep.
That was his excuse when he would run into a guy in front of him on the racetrack. I didn't see.
I'm getting older. I can't see.
I'm colorblind. You know, I thought I was running into Ross Chastain. I'm sorry.
you know, funny story about colorblind. Frank Toady is colorblind. Our Frank Toady, South Point Frank Toady. So he always struggled looking at what color chips were on the table.
Good thing he wasn't a dealer.
He did. He was a dealer. All right, let's get back to what we do here, and let's get to the head-to-heads now. And guys, I like a lot of these head-to-heads, Motley. This is what's fun about a race like Darlington, right? We get some decent numbers, and right off the bat, Denny Hamlin. We talked about the number one guy here, 55% in the top five at Darlington. I know Martin Truex is your point leader, But Martin Truex Jr. nowhere near as good as Denny in the last 10 races. He's plus 125 head-to-head versus his teammate.
Yeah, those big negative numbers on Martin Truex Jr., I mean, there's some really good guys out there running against him. But the one I like Denny Hamlin better on? I like the plus 110 against Kyle Larson. I mean, Denny's been really good here.
He has. Kyle Larson, though, had this race.
Larson tried to do the Ross Chastain video game move in this race last year.
Remember, he was leading the race when him and Chastain got into their deal, did a little damage to him, which is what kind of hurt him. But, I look at 4 top 10s in the last 7 races for Kyle Larson, or 4 top 5s last 7 races. Denny Hamlin, 5 with 2 wins. Martin Truex Jr. only has 1 win, 2 top 5s last 10 races. So I do like that one. The other one I like, look, Kyle Busch, I know we're saying they're struggling, but Kyle Busch versus Christopher Bell is a plus 110. And how about Chris Buescher? Plus 105 against his teammate, Denny Hamlin, or Brad Keselowski.
And he's also got a plus 105 against Kevin Harvick. I think both of those numbers are good on Chris Buescher. So
yeah,
I think there's definitely some value this week in the head-to-heads. I mean, last week we had didn't even talk about the head-to-heads.
No, we can't talk about it last week.
But I think there's some real value here. I mean, especially when you see guys like William Byron and Denny Hamlin getting plus 125 numbers, and you see guys like Chris Buescher, who literally I do think is one of the 2 hottest drivers on the circuit, is getting a plus number against 2 guys that haven't even won a race this year.
Well, and Harvick, I mean, even lately he's been really good at Darlington. So, I mean, I put a little old school stuff there. But Chris Buescher's riding my favorite word, momentum. And you got him sitting there with that odd, with a head-to-head versus his teammate. Look, Brad's doing well, but not as well as Chris, right? I mean, Chris has been in fuego. So,
but I do believe at some point Keselowski is going to be the one in front of Buescher, and after the way that Keselowski has had Buescher's back all year long,
he's going to have his back.
Buescher will have it. Well, it's his boss too.
Yeah,
so.
No, that it doesn't hurt to do that one. All right, let's get into our group matchups, Mr. Motley, and we start off with a pretty good spread in Group A here. You got Martin Truex Jr., your favorite, at 235, Kyle Larson 250, Denny Hamlin 295, and Byron 300. Byron's pretty darn good here. Remember, he's got to win, 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s, last 10 races. Won the last race. I mean, he's pretty darn good here at Darlington.
No, there's no question. This is just such a tough group here. I mean, Martin Truex Jr., like I said, one of the 2 hottest guys out there. Larson needs no introduction. Denny Hamlin, I mean, he's been the most successful guy that's actually still racing at Darlington Raceway. Plus Byron. This is the group I probably just say, you know what? I throw a blanket over all them. I'm not going to go and pick this group. This is a group I'm staying away from this week. Even though that's great value on Denny Hamlin and William Byron, I agree with you on that.
I'm with you. Group A is always one that a lot of times it's either feast or famine with us. We either love it and love something in it. This is the week that I'm same place as you. I'm like,
yeah, it just makes me nervous.
Hard to do. All right, let's get into Group B then. We got Christopher Bell is right off the bat at 245, Ross Chastain 55, Kyle Busch 275, Tyler Reddick 300.
Here's the question I'm trying to ask myself. Has Kyle Busch's team been preparing for the playoffs over the last couple months? Because they certainly have struggled. There's no question about it. This is the kind of racetrack that suits Kyle perfectly, though. He is not a guy who goes out and destroys his equipment. He's going to manage his tires. He's a smart racer. He also knows the importance when the playoffs get here. The guy's a 2-time champion for a reason. And so to me, I look at Kyle Busch getting a plus 275 in this group, and he is the one guy that I say going into a place like Darlington, I feel like I can count on.
And that's the whole – that or Reddick with the 300 because they're enticing me with Reddick because he runs – this is – him and the Kyle Larson, this is the tracks we think of them as –
it's like the dirt track racers. Can run well. They get up by the wall. They don't mind if they
don't mind the cushion. They don't mind a little love tap. I do like those too. But it's playoff time. Kyle Busch was always a playoff guy, right? I mean, this is when Kyle Busch shines.
Yeah, he's like Reggie Jackson in NASCAR, you know? I mean, it's like Mr. October.
Mr. October.
This is September, October, and November, you know?
So there's just something about that Kyle Busch 275 number.
Am I aging myself by comparing him to Reggie Jackson?
Bad thing is I caught it. Group C real quick. Kevin Harvick 265, Brad 265, Chris Buescher 265, Chase Elliott 275. Chase Elliott. The only thing I don't like is Kevin Harvick is so good here. Even Kevin Harvick is okay, I get it. But Kevin Harvick at Darlington, when you look at the stats, Kevin Harvick is phenomenal at Darlington.
Boy, I want to ride the hot hand.
But Chris Buescher is the hot hand.
That's what I want to ride the hot hand. The only thing, honestly, that scares me here is it his teammates in this group too? And I do believe, like I said, there's going to come a time where Brad Keselowski is going to be the one in front of Chris Buescher because they've been running like nose to tail, it seems like, the last few weeks. At some point, it's going to be Brad that's going to be in the front.
Flip-flop. But the other thing I got here is, am I a Ford believer yet? Do I believe that Ford has finally turned the whole corner? So there's 3 Fords versus Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, something to prove. Chase Elliott, the driver that.
Well, how many more races does Chris Buescher have to win to
before we
prove
believe?
you?
Well, and before you become a Chris Buescher
and
believer.
like we said, on different style racetracks, it's not like he's just found this one niche that he's gone out there and won.
He's not AJ Allmendinger. Sorry, AJ. He's not AJ and dominating road courses and doing that.
He didn't even do that this year.
Well, but he's been a really broad category this year. So how far do we have to go? I don't know. I kind of like the Chase Elliott 275. I like the hot hand. I like Kevin Harvick. I like all 3 of them. So that, to me, says Group C.
Oh, well, you've got 2 of them, A and C. You're just throwing up the X, huh?
Well, A, just nothing. A is just this. It's the 4 hot hands, right? It's the top. Okay. But this is the one that I really can't pick between.
All right.
Group D, we got Bubba Wallace, your favorite, at 245. Ty Gibbs at 265. And then you end up with Eric Jones, 270, and Alex Bowman, 295 in this group. Alex Bowman, disappointment. I mean, Eric Jones, your winner last year at this race, didn't do well earlier this year in this race. I mean, just so you know, we're talking about it. Eric Jones was 25th, didn't get a stage point, didn't get nothing in the spring race here.
Here's what all I'm going to say about that group. There's one playoff guy in that group.
And you like that playoff guy?
I like the playoff guy. I just think Bubba Wallace has done so much better on these intermediate racetracks this year. I think we've really seen him kind of come into his own on these intermediate tracks. Ty Gibbs runs well. Something always seems to happen. Eric Jones, I know he won this race before. I just don't see it in this car he's running. And Alex Bowman, I hate to say this, but, Bowman, he gets his new contract. And then,
isn't it like any sport, football, isn't that always the thing?
He gets his new contract, and then he just has not been consistent at all. So, to me, the one guy who's brought it every week in that group, Bubba Wallace. So, I'm going with Bubba.
Well, and Alex Bowman did not get to race this race in this fall. That was one of the races he was out with his injury. So he had.
You mean this past spring?
The spring. That's what I mean. Sorry, the spring. He was. That was when Josh Berry was filling in for him. So
and Berry had a pretty good run in that car, I believe.
He finished bad, but he had a good run going.
I think he got into an accident.
I think he got chastained. But
I'm glad we've turned that into a verb.
3 top 10s in 9 races here for Bowman. I just that Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace is your playoff guy. I get it. But if I look at the stats, Bubba Wallace, 2 top 10s, 10 races, average finish 21.
I know. I just think Bubba Wallace over the last 2 years is not the same Bubba
Wallace
Wallace
we have right now. It's kind of like we talked with Eric Jones. We left Gibbs and all that stuff.
Right. Some guys have like Kevin Harvick ain't the same guy now that he was years ago.
Let's get into Group E. Group E is Ricky Stenhouse, 240, Michael McDowell, 240, Eric Almirola, 300, AJ Allmendinger, 300. Got anything for me?
No, I don't have anything for you there. I guess to me it's an Almirola McDowell toss up to me.
The 2 playoff guys.
Almirola's not playoffs, but
McDowell and
Stenhouse are. But to me, it's a toss up Almirola McDowell, and it's plus 300 on Almirola. So if I got to pick somebody, I'm going Almirola just for the plus 300.
Best average finish 15.5 versus a 22 and a 22. All right, that was a boring group for us. When we get back, Group E, our props and our picks.
This is Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
And the white flag is in the air. Last segment, Gone Racin.
Last segment in the studio, maybe.
Possibly. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know.
But last segment of our show for the Cookout Southern 500.
Cookout Southern 500.
We always have to mention
playoff kick. Our
right.
Playoffs.
Talking playoffs. Practice. We are in our last group.
You're doing Iverson. I'm doing Jim Moore.
I know. I got to do Iverson. Every time I hear that, those 2 things go hand in hand.
Wasn't he your roommate for a while or something?
Yes,
Alan Iverson.
Yes, he was. Gave
I
him.
bet I would love to have been a fly on the wall with you two guys in the dorm room.
Just find old pictures of him with butterfly bandage over his eye, and you'll know where it came from. Let's go to Group F, and Group F is always one of our favorites. Now, I'm going to preface this Group F right here. Westgate, we love you. Thank you for giving us such the early odds that this is the only place we can find group matchups on a Wednesday and a Thursday. So we appreciate them over there taking good care of us on this. Carson Hocevar, really? The kid's in his second cup race ever. He gets thrown in the Legacy 42, and you throw up Carson Hocevar in a group? There's so many other guys you could have thrown in a group. Austin Dillon runs bad enough lately to be in Group F, and you throw in Carson Hocevar.
Austin Dillon didn't even get a group this week.
No, and that's what I mean.
But
and you make him your favorite, Carson Hocevar.
I look at this group, and it just screams Chase Briscoe to me.
Carson Hocevar, 225, and Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton, Justin Haley, 285. It screams Chase Briscoe. Now, you and I talked off air. It would scream Justin Haley. Justin Haley has 3 good runs a year. We always joke. He shows up a couple times. He showed up in the spring race here, came home with an 8th place finish. What was just recently announced? Justin Haley.
He's leaving that race team. I don't necessarily know that they're real happy that he's leaving the race team. I don't know how smoothly it's gone.
So, look, Chris Rice, I love Chris Rice of Colleague Racing.
Harrison Burton just lost his crew chief.
Because they're doing a big crew chief change
Crew
over
chief
there.
swap over there.
So you got a crew chief change on one guy, Chris Rice, who I love to death, and I love Matt Colleague to death. But Chris Rice takes a lot of things personal. If you ever met Chris, you know that he gets very upset when things happen. So I don't see that 31 team having a strong finish here. It just screams Chase Briscoe to me.
Me too. And I think this is a reminder to bettors too that yes, the race, we're always talking about Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, whoever. Guess what? You might go find one of these little hidden gems in a group
right here.
And does it pay at the betting window if you get it right?
Pays the same.
Pays the same. So that's what I'm saying. Don't always just look at who's going to win, or don't always look at the big names. Go look for some value.
There's
Chase Briscoe at plus 285 in Group F. I'm not saying he's going to win the group. I think he's going to win the group. There's value
There's
right
value there. All right, let's get into our prop bet. And our prop, of course, Chevy is still your odds-on favorite at plus 115, Toyota plus 125, and Ford back at 300. Am I a Chris Buescher RFK believer with the Ford, or
Kevin Harvick, who's been good here?
Kevin Harvick, who's been good
Do you
here?
really think Harvick's going to go his final year without a win? To me, this is as good a chance as any for him to pick up a win.
Absolutely. Or do the Toyotas with the Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex combination with Tyler Reddick, who runs good there? Or do we just stick with the number of guys we could name with the Chevys?
I'm not going to pick this one. I don't have a pick here. I mean, obviously the value is with Ford, and Chris Buescher's won 3 of the last 5 races in a Ford. They're plus 300. Last week we had these huge numbers on Toyota, and we thought what a great value the Toyota pick was, and well, that didn't exactly work out. In fact, did we have any Toyotas even in the top 5 last week?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
So
Bubba Wallace was the highest finishing one at 12th.
12th, yeah.
And that's
12.
how I know, because I won a Bubba Wallace top Toyota.
Right, so there's not even a Toyota in the top 10, and now we know why they were plus 320 or whatever they were. So.
All right.
380, actually 380 last week. So a
So,
couple of us took that bet, and
a couple
it
of
didn't
us
work
took
out
it.
too well.
We took a shot on it, and it didn't work out well for us. Last week, let's talk about those results. Last week, we one of us here at least wasn't negative 0.5. One of us here has been smart enough every week. I told you, I'm minimizing my damage. I'm going to get a head-to-head. I was minus 1.9, okay, but I got my head-to-head bet. I got Kyle Busch over Denny Hamlin. Brought me home at least it brought me some coin, Mr. Motley. That's all that matters. Just a little bit of action is all I needed.
It did. And when I look at the overall standings right now, it's kind of like you're running in the Cup Series. I'm running the Xfinity Series, and the pit crew's running in the Truck Series.
I may call it Winston West.
So maybe.
Isaiah says we're Arca.
Arkham and Nards
yeah.
West.
There you go.
Hey, Brendan, I'll slip you a 20 here if you agree with me on this. Look, I know we picked winners and we didn't win, but all 5 guys finished on the lead lap. And 4 of the 5 finished in the top 10. Can I
On
get a
the lead
bonus
lap.
point for that or something
On the
like
lead
that?
lap. So what he's saying is all his guys didn't get in a wreck.
That's
So he
right.
thinks he should get a bonus for that.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
the guy.
20 ain't enough.
He's the guy who wants a trophy for participating.
No.
Look at his age.
No.
Jay,
Exactly.
Motley,
I
look at his age.
participated better than
What is-
some
Look at his
people.
age.
What generation are you? Generation Z1
No, I'm
or
a
what?
millennial.
You're a millennial?
Yeah, I was
old
born in
enough?
I
94.
thought you're like too young for a millennial even.
Born in 94, so I know who Reggie Jackson was when you were talking about him earlier.
All right, well,
Hey, I'm
So
just
we
saying,
got one.
the last 3 weeks, we picked Chase Elliott to win. He finishes second. We had AJ for top 3. He finishes 4th. And then we had Brad to win, and he finishes second. So
And if you took those tickets to the betting window, what would they tell you to do?
wipe your tears with them.
Get lost.
They tell you to get
Exactly. And
lost.
that's all. That's exactly what Brendan and I are going to tell you too.
but what we're going to tell you is you're still in the trunk. So guess who gets to go first?
I'm gonna laugh.
Still you.
I'm gonna laugh when I pass Motley for second. It's coming. All right. So for the pit crew this week, we're gonna go with Denny Hamlin over Martin Truex Jr. plus 125. Kyle Busch to win Group B plus 275. Ryan Hyde with Brad to win Group C plus 265. I agree with what Jeff said about Bubba Wallace in Group D. He's the only playoff driver, so we got him at plus 245. And Michael McDowell to win Group E plus 240.
The group I called the most boring group in the whole thing.
And Isaiah let him pick Keselowski.
They got a Brad pick in there. All right.
Wow.
I think we're at the point now where Brad's good, so we can pick him.
Okay. All right. Mr. Motley,
All
I don't
right.
have to go second. You do.
No, I'm going to go head-to-head, Denny Hamlin over Kyle Larson. And then the rest of my picks are going to be in the groups. I'm going Kyle Busch in Group B. I'm going to ride that hot hand in Group C with Chris Buescher. As the pit crew just iterated, I'm going to go Bubba Wallace in Group D at plus 245. And the last one is the one that you and I just talked about, Chase Briscoe in Group F. I love him at plus 285.
So we might have just given somebody the kiss of death because
You're going Bubba Wallace.
nope, not
Well,
that
that would be
one.
the only one that we all three can
No, we all have the Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. head to head.
pick. I don't. I have Denny over Kyle Larson.
Oh, I thought you said Denny over Martin.
No.
Oh, good,
So,
sweet.
so that no.
I mean,
no
Denny's
kiss-
still gonna speed on pit road at some point.
Denny Hamlin, absolutely. I've never seen anybody get so many speeding penalties in the history.
Although Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick are trying to catch him.
No, they're learning from the wrong guy then. I'm going to take one top three. What did I say earlier in the season? I'm going to bet who every week?
Chase Elliott.
I'm doing Chase Elliott not to win.
I really, really like that.
I'm doing Chase Elliott top three.
I want you to know I circled it and then I crossed it out. So you're probably gonna win it because I crossed it out.
Plus 450 for that one. Then I do have the Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. Head-to-head. I'm sticking in the head-to-heads. I got Kyle Busch over Christopher Bell at plus 110. And I'm also sticking in the head-to-heads. I got Chris Buescher over his teammate, plus 105 for Chris Buescher against his teammate Brad Keselowski. And then my last pick is the Chase Briscoe. I got to go to Group F, that 285 Group F pick with Chase Briscoe. That to me is the pick of the you. No offense, sorry Carson, love you, don't know you, love you, but you got thrown in a group in your second Cup race ever in a team that's struggling, in a team that's had three or four drivers in the last four races.
Well, all three of the drivers going against Chase Briscoe, there is some turmoil.
Going on.
You got Hocevar replacing Gregson. Haley is leaving his race team. Harrison Burton's lost his crew chief. The only one's got any consistency there whatsoever is Chase Briscoe. He ran well last week.
And he's already he's coming back next year. He's the only other team that we know is coming back at Stewart Haas right now.
He's signed up. We know he's good to go. We know Josh Berry's good to go over there.
So I think that's a simple, easy pick for that one. And there's my 5.
All right.
Well,
I'm gonna try to gain on you a little bit, but we'll see. It's
gain. Listen,
been
all
an
I got to do
uphill
is get a
struggle this
couple
year.
of them head-to-heads. If I get one head-to-head, I'm only a minus 0.5 again. It's all good for me.
I'm gonna try to graduate from the ARCA series. Right now we're the ARCA brakes. We're not even ARCA. We're just the brakes. You know how they always just run into each other, crashing.
He's been crashing a lot.
They have crashed a lot. Yep.
And he has moments of brilliance. He does well, and then he goes back to minus 30.
Well, you know, it's
He gained on you for a couple weeks, Motley.
It's close, but no cigar for me this year.
Jeff a few weeks ago was in the positives too, by the way.
He was.
Right. And these big tracks like Daytona always seem to kill me because it's a crapshoot.
It's fun. I look back at both Daytona. Yeah, crapshoot. Both Daytona races. The only 2 bets that have been won are matchup bets. Or the head-to-heads, I'm sorry. So the ones that we poo-poo, they keep winning.
Yeah, but I picked one just to listen. All I needed was a little small minus number, not a big minus number. Keeps me in that plus 40 range. I'm all good.
Well, I think one great thing about this weekend, though, is we're going to one of the most legendary tracks on the circuit. We're going to a track where the racing is usually always exciting because it's not only what you do on the racetrack, it's also what you do in the pits. There's a lot of strategy to it. It's a great way to kick off the playoffs.
Absolutely.
To get the playoffs started.
Best way ever to kick off the playoffs. It is a unique design. It is the oval egg-shaped design. It is the track too tough to tame. The Lady in Black has the most nicknames of any track.
And the reason that one turn is wider than the other is there's a minnow
lake.
pond. And when they went to build the racetrack, they realized, oh, shoot, we can't move the pond. So they had to make one turn narrower than the other.
Ask Kyle Petty about it. He'll tell you all.
That's one of my Earl Ross McNuggets there for you.
That's Kyle Petty. Like I say, Richmond, best thing to do is fill it with water is what he says.
Oh, the whole racetrack,
Yeah,
fill it with
that's what
water,
he likes.
make a boat race.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us from the South Point studio. Our last call here, Gone Racin', Jeff Motley. We'll talk to you next week when we break down Darlington and we get into everything that is
Kansas.
Kansas.